I welcome everyone to today's session of our training. So we would like to continue from where we left off the last time. Let's take this off. I think we should take this off. This was also not there. It should also not be there. Okay. So we are still using the HTML that we started with. It's an empty HTML, but it has our reference index.js, which is our JS file, and then an empty JS file also. Okay, so we ended at DOM manipulations, and we said that DOM talks of the document object model. In the document object model, we said it just talks about our HTML documents and then how we use methods in JavaScript to manipulate the HTML documents by getting access to the elements within the HTML. And we said that we have some methods that we use, and these methods include the documents, the get elements by ID, get elements by class name, get elements by tag name, and we are going to go through some of them. So let's start by creating an HTML element. So we can say we create a div, and then let's just say hi. So and then let's give this an ID. So the unique identification for this particular div, we want to say, let's call it name. To begin with, let's call it name. Okay, so we have our HTML document. Let's go to our page. Let's see the output. So we have over here, hi, who are you? So we can, assuming we have a lot of content within our HTML documents and we want to perform any manipulations, maybe change the content or add some kind of styling, that is what we want to look at. That is what we are about to do. So we are starting with just this one line sentence, and then we want to maybe change our content in here. The first thing we will do is that since this is our HTML document, we will have to have access to this particular element, and that is where the DOM manipulations come in. So we come to our JS file. Remember, we name here ID, the ID is name, so we come to our index.js, and then we go into the document. Now I want a particular element. The element has an ID, so go and get me that element. So get elements by ID. Now what is the element? What is the ID of that element? The ID is name. Okay, so let me put this in a variable. Say 1 should be equal to this. Now what we can do is we can alert 1. We can do 1 dot, let's see, value. Let's say 1 dot text. And let's see. one dot text not a function. Get element by ID name. Okay. Oh, sorry. Using jQuery. Let's do inner.html. Let's do inner.html and let's just say jet over here. Let's see what happens. So now we've changed our output in here. And we have jet now. I think the reason why we had the error the first time was because I was using a JQuery method in the JavaScript. That was why. So I made sure that I got the access to the HTML documents. I want access to these documents when I have these elements within the document. When I have access to these elements within the document, then I'll be able to manipulate whatever that is in here. So I came here and then I got that access by getting that element ID, and then I'm saying inner.html. Inner.html deals with the content of that element. So inner.html is whatever that is in here, in between the elements of the HTML. So I'm saying, since the inner.html is hi who you are, now I'm saying it should let that hi who you are now be jet. So it replaces the hi who you are with the name jet over here. So we have looked at the first thing, which is get elements by ID. That's our first done method. And then we have looked at another thing, which is the inner HTML also. Let's look at the get by class name. So to get by class name, let's go into our HTML documents. And then let's do something like, let's create another div and let's give it a class. Let's call this class cool. And let's create duplications of this particular class. And I guess you understand why with a class we can reference a lot of class names, but with the ID it should be unique, because ID talks about identity. It's always unique, one person. But with the class name, we are talking of a group of elements. So we want to have a class of objects. So that class of objects, we must give them the same name before they become an actual class of objects or collection of objects. So we use a class if we want a group, but we use ID when we are dealing with an element. Give it 1. Let's say here should be 2. There should be 3, 4, 5, 6. Now on a normal day, you would have something like this, but your content might be different, because you would have different contents in here and they might be displaying different stuffs. So there are times that you want to fetch some content from an API. So when that content is accessed, you might want to use a class name and then you use a loop to loop through the content and then put the content in within the elements in here. Now if you do so and then you want to apply maybe some form of class, or you want to do further manipulations to it, you use the get elements by class name. So let's look at that. So with that one, all we want to do is we want to just count the number of elements with the same class name. So let's just name it number let's just say number of classes, right? Let's go into our document. Let's get the elements by the class name. And that class name is school. After getting them, I'm saying that I want an alert. So the alert that I want, it should get me the number class, and then I want the length of that number class. So it should alert me the length of this number class. So when we refresh it, the length of that number class over here is the alert that is showing. It is 6, meaning that we have 6 elements with the same class name called cool. And that is what we have over here. So we have just looked at how to use the get the class name also to have access to your content. Let's look at something else. See, we create a paragraph. Then put here, say, I am happy. So we can do get by tag name also. We do, let's see, tag name. Then let's go into our document. Let's get elements by tag name, and then our tag name is P. Now with this tag name, we want to alert. What we want to alert is we want to get the content. We want to get a content within that tag. So let's do OK, and then let's refresh our page again. So the first thing we have over here is our class name. Then the next thing we have undefined. The undefined is the tag name. I'm saying you should get a tag name and give me the content of that tag name. For some reason I'm getting undefined. Let's see. P. Tag name P. Let's see. I have to just go and this out. Okay. Let me console.log this and see what I have to do. This one. Okay, anyway, I think I might have forgotten how to get the elements. But when you look at this HTML collection over here, you can see that we are getting the tag name P over here, and the P stands for this particular paragraph. It stands for this particular paragraph in here. So we can have access to that tag name also, and then create manipulations to the domain, the contents of that particular tag name. So there are others also. I think we have the get. We have the get. You can get the element by name also. You can get element by name, and the way that we get element by name is by something using the same similar documents dot get elements by name. But with that one also, when you come over here, you can create your elements. Then after creating your elements, you give name, and then you say name should be equal to, let's just say jet. So when you say name is equal to jet, what happens is that you reference this name in here within your tag name, and then you have access to that name. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. So that's with manipulating your documents using the DOM elements or methods. Now let's look at what we call events in JavaScript. When we talk about events are like occurrences. So we want to say, should any action happen within our HTML page or interface, then something should happen. So we want to look at events. So what are the events or the actions that are taking place on our HTML document, and should they happen, what do we want to be the responses? So let's look at some events. Some of the events that we have events like on click. And on click is saying when somebody clicks on any element, then we can give a response or something should happen. We have on mouse over, we have on mouse down, we have on key up. There are a lot we have on change also. Then we can also look at, and then we have on focus. These are just a few. So let's look at examples of some of these. Okay, let's create a new div. Then with this div, we say we create an on click in here, and then anytime we create an on click here, we have to put a callback in here. Callbacks are functions like we learned earlier on. So let's say, what do we want to do? So let us name it, say hi. So because it's a function, parentheses afterwards the method name or the function name, which means we are calling the function, so something should happen. So we've defined our on click. Let me make this a button rather. Button, and then let me put here click me to see. So this is just an HTML document. I'm saying that I'm creating a button on my HTML page, and then the text that I want to show on that button is click me to see. Now when that button is clicked, which is this on click, it should say hi. Now let's define our hi. So what is that hi? So function say hi. Now open curly brackets. What do we want this say hi to do? Let's define that. We want it to alert. Let's say hello, I am Jet. Now let's come back here. Let me see if there are any alerts. Okay, there are no alerts. Let's refresh this. Now we have our button showing over here with the text that we inputted saying click me to see. Now once we click on this, we have our output saying hello, I am Jed. So this is our function say hi, and upon clicking on this button, which is the event, this is the response that we want. on our HTML page. Good. So we've looked at onClick. This is onClick, trying out onClick. Let's see. Let's try on mouse hover. So on mouse hover is saying that, okay, so what if we have an HTML document and then somebody hovers over a particular element within our document? Okay, they want to create some kind of response or animation. So let's try something like that. Now let's just define a function called on mouse over. Let me name this events. Right, and then I open my curly bracket, meaning that I want to define some instructions that should be executed. Then I want to say, once it hovers on the mouse, what should it do? Okay, let's also create an alert for the meantime. Let's use an alert for the meantime. Let's just say you just hovered over. You just hovered over me, right? So let's come to our HTML document, and then let's create this. So we can just copy this. Oh, better still, let's clean this and select. We can also take this off. Then we can put in here our on mouse over. I'm going to put in here our mouse over. I want to say we call our on mouse over events. Okay, let's refresh the page. Now when we hover over our elements, this is I am happy. We have our response over here. We just hovered over me. So that's also on mouse over events. Let's create a focus. Let's try the focus also. With the focus, you want to use an input. Input allows us to create text boxes or check boxes whereby we allow the clients to input text into our HTML page. Then we get the text and then use it for whatever we want to use it for. So this input is saying what type of input do I want. So I can choose text or I can choose checkbox, but currently I want the text. So the text means that I want a text box so that people can input text over there. If I put in checkbox, then it means that it will have a checkbox where people can check or tick. So I created a text box, then create. So we say on focus. On focus should be equal to, let's say, on focus. Let's create an on focus events over here. We created the events. Let's go and define this event as a function which should be executed anytime we call it. So we come here and then say on focus. Then we create our function. And then with on focus events, we open our curly brackets, define our executions. What do we want once we focus on it? This is our focus. So let me give it a name. Say, let me see. Let me try this and see how it will go. Then I say, get me should be equal to the document. Get elements by tag name. What do we want to? No, not get elements by tag. Get elements by name. The name over there should be me. Then when you get access to it, now come to get me. when you get me, let's call the style, and from style let's access the background, and let's say background should be equal to red. Okay, let's see what would happen. Let me pass here. So once I do this, I have an error over here. Let's see what the error is about. Setting background. Let me see, let me change this to get elements by ID. ID should be me. Let me come here, let me make this ID. Let's see. Okay, so I think I seem to be missing something with the get element by tag name. We'll check it later on. So anyway, I use the get element by ID, and what I'm saying is that anytime I click on this input element, what should happen is that my focus should be here, and whenever the focus is here, I'm saying that it should style this particular input background and then give it a color red. So that was what we did over here. This is my input element, the text name, and then I'm saying you should give it a focus, and the focus this focus event should only manifest or be executed. This focus event should only be executed when there is a focus on this particular input. Now within the whole HTML document, we can focus on anywhere. I just focused on hovering over this, click me, this, I am happy, and then realize that because I hovered over it, the focus went there and gave me this output. Same way when I come here and then I click here, the focus comes over here and gives me this background red. Same way, the moment I click on this click me, the focus of the HTML document comes here and then it gives me my event response. So we defined our focus and we are saying that, okay, let's get that element. When we get that element, let's call the style. The style is one of the way of adding some kind of styling to your HTML document, and then we are saying that the styling that we want to attach to that particular element is to give the background a color of red. So that's with the onFocus. So we've looked at some events also, so we can move on to the next thing. Now let's start with JQuery. JQuery is JQuery is a lightweight JavaScript library, and the main purpose of jQuery is to help you to quickly do. It is much more easier. It's a lightweight JavaScript library, so the main purpose is to help individuals have their way with JavaScript much more easily. So jQuery is very easy to learn because it is much more simple and easy to get. Now, to be able to have access to jQuery and to use jQuery within your JS or your index files, the first thing that you do is to call the jQuery CDN, or go and pull the CDN, download it, and then you reference it from your local directory. So what we want to do is we want to come here and then search for jQuery CDN. Once we come here, I usually go for the minified ones. you copy. So once you come here to JQuery, you choose a minified, or you can choose any of them. So I copied this particular script. Once I've copied it, I come to my HTML document. JQuery should always be the first to come before your JavaScript files. I'm not so sure when it comes to other developments in relation to like rebuilding a special portal. But one thing that I'm very much sure about is whenever you are building a special portal, the jQuery reference should come first before your JavaScript, before your leaflets. So this reference that we've made is that we are referencing an online repository where we have jQuery into like a JavaScript methods and functions that have been written and defined. So once we reference this into our HTML document, it means that some of the method names and then the functions we are going to be calling have already been predefined in there, and we are calling them, having access to them to use them. So we are not going to define these again. So we put this here. So now we have jQuery within our HTML document. The next thing that we want to do is to use jQuery. So some of the things we just looked at DOM. Let's start with jQuery DOM. So jQuery DOM, we have these over here. So we have ID name. So start with ID name. So jQuery always starts with a $sign. Then after the $sign, it asks for the element identification or the particular element we want to reference. So if it is ID that you're referencing, you start with a hash and then you bring the ID identification that we want. Then we come here and then let's just use hide. Say we want to hide a particular element. So we have over here name, hide, who are you? We are saying we want to hide it. Let's see. Let's refresh this. Now you see the jet is no longer out there. Let me take this out. Over. Let's take this out. Let me take this out. Let's out. Let me actually clean all of this. So now what we are doing is I'm saying, okay, $sign. We have accessed jQuery. Now I'm saying I need to hide this element here. Because I need to hide this element, I want to get and I have to get that particular element. The element has an ID called name. So jQuery is saying, okay, let's just get the element by doing $sign, then we bring hash. Hash stands for IDs. So we get this ID and then we hide that particular element. So we have hi, who are you? But when we come over here and then we refresh our page, we are not seeing the hi, who are you again. If I come back to my JS, then let me comment this out. You see it is showing again. Okay, so this is, if you want to get it by ID, you use this. Now if you want to get it by a class name, classes are identified by a period sign, then you get a name. I think we use a class cool. So let's come here. I think there's no cool right here. This input. Okay. Okay, let's use this input. Let me give this input the value. Let's say the value should be 20. So ID is me, value is 20. I cancel my JS. We said class, right? So let's change this to class. So we have class me. We come here, our class is me, and then when you do .val is going to get you the value. So pardon me, but I have to do this. Now we looked at events also, so I'm going to write a JQuery event, and then we'll use the class to get the value of that class. So I want to say $. I'm saying whenever this particular class is clicked, so whenever this class, the class is me. Now I'm saying whenever that class is what it is clicked, then I want something to happen. So that thing is a function which I want to execute. When I open this, you can copy this, and then I'm saying I'll say you should alert me with this. So whenever this class, the me class, is clicked, a function should be executed. Now the function that I want to be executed is this line. It should alert me with the value of the class. Let's look at it. How about the error here? Wait, let me refresh it. So once I click this input, I have an alert over here, and it's alerting me with the value of that input. And you realize when we set the value to 20, we have 20 also showing within our input. Let's click OK. Oh, I just clicked. So with this work, let me see if we can use on, and then we can say if there is a change. So let's refresh this and see. So I have 30. Reference error or no savings is not defined. Take this also asynchronous is not taken. Let me take this also asynchronous is not taken. We are not using this. Let's come back here when this class is on and there is a change. Should be there is a change. Let's say 22. Okay. So the unchange focuses on your input element over here and what it listens to is should there be a change, it will give you a response. So let's go back to the code. So I'm saying, okay, I have an input element over here, and then the input element, I've given it a class me. It has a value of 20. Now I want to listen to anytime somebody changes the value. When the person changes the value, I want to receive the new value the person has sent me. So to write that, the first thing we do is like the same logic that we have in our head. Okay, get that particular element. So I'm saying this is how we get the elements. So when that element is on, if it is active and then it is changed, anything changes within that element, this function should be executed. It should alert me with this particular. We see the same repetition again. The $.me getting access to that element, and we are saying should get us the value of that particular element, and that is what we received. Okay. So I think that's with JQuery DOM also. We've looked at hide. The same way we are hiding this, we can also use show to show documents that are hidden when we want to show them. So let me use hide over here, right? Let me create another button. And then the button, let's see button. Let's give this an ID. Say show me. Let's give it an ID. Show me. Show. Let's show the hidden elements. So show me. So we come here and we say so we have an ID, right? So hash, and then that ID name is show me. And then when that ID is clicked, when the button is clicked, there should be a function that should be executed. So let's write the function. What do we want to do? We want to get the ID of the hidden element. Then when we get it, we want to show it. Okay. All right. So we have our interface like this. So once we click this, show me, we have hi, who are you? So this is how to use the show me with the jQuery DOM manipulation. So realize ID hash. If it is class, we use the period, and if it is tags, we use the normal tag names. We just put it in there without anything preceding it. Okay, so if you look at show, if you look at high, now on more than, it's very necessary, right, to always do documents, call documents, then check if the document is ready. So document is ready. If the document is ready, we want something to happen. So we call function, and then we call this curly bracket, say this something should happen. So usually what you want to do on a normal day is always to have, if you are using jQuery, is to have this as your first line or your entry jQuery script. And what is that? Is that this particular query is saying it should, okay, so we are using jQuery to get the document of the HTML. So get the document of the HTML. When we get it, we should listen to the HTML page and check if that HTML is ready. Then some function should be executed, and then we write the scripts or the instructions or the statements that we want to be implemented within our code. So this should be the entry script, and then you write all your functions, like the functions we wrote, the .hide, the get elements by ID, the get the value, change the background color and all. So you do this and then you listen. So once all the functions should be executed when the document is ready. The reason why this is necessary is that there are times that when on a slow network, you realize that the page will keep on loading. So if you don't bring this and listen for the readiness of your HTML documents, you get a lot of errors. The errors will come if they are direct functions or events or script that you've written to do particular stuff, and then the page is not done loading. It will give you undefined because it will not be able to get the elements of this particular page. Let me go back and make it a little bit clearer. So we want to check if everything over here has completely loaded on our HTML page before we say the functions should be executed. So we use the document.ready. If it is ready, then the functions that should be written over here, all functions can now be implemented. All functions can now be implemented once the document is ready, meaning all the elements have fully loaded. Because most of the functions that we are going to write, we are going to use the DOM elements in getting access to the elements within our HTML page, and then we are saying, okay, if this element is there, then do this. But if the code isn't ready and we are saying it should go and get that element, it's going to give us undefined because that particular element wouldn't be alive or wouldn't be loaded within the HTML for us to be able to do our manipulations. Okay, so I think that is clear. So I think I'll bring the class to one end here, and then I'll open the floor for questions. So is there anything that was unclear? I'm here to go over them and answer them. Okay, before that, let me explain two codes which I know we will be using a lot. We have what we call AJAX and AJAX. We have what we call AJAX. I'm just going to explain this concept a little, then we close the class. And jQuery AJAX uses $.series get, and then there's another one that starts with I think $.AJAX, and then it has its methods. But I usually prefer this. So with this particular AJAX method, you call $, then .get. So we are saying that it should go and get a URL. And then when it gets the URL, then you create a function. So this function over here is saying, okay, what to do after the URL is a success. So what we have over here is that we are saying that it should go and get us a particular URL. Now that particular URL will be an API or a URL that has some form of data in there. So this gets over here by its even semantic name saying get. We want to get something. So getting this URL, we are going to get some form of data from this URL. So the data is hidden with this URL. When we go to this URL, we get that data hidden over here. Now we are saying this function over here is going to be executed when this is successful. So when we get a URL, the next thing that happens is that this function is going to be executed. Now this function being executed is what to do after the URL is successful. So once we get the data, what do we want to do with the data? So we write what we want to do with the data over here. If we want to alert that, okay, we've received the data, or you see that there are times that when you're on a page, you click on something, you really don't see the code behind, but they go and fetch maybe, let's say you are doing a mobile banking. Then your mobile banking, you click on check balance. When you click on the check balance, what happens is that because they are using an API, they put the URL um, that has the function for getting your balance from the database in here. So it goes and then hits the URL. The URL then goes and then renders the logic that has been written to get you the balance. Then once it gets the balance, which is within this URL, it comes to the function. And then what they do is that they get the data, which is a response from this URL, and then they show it to you as maybe you have 20 CDs or maybe you have $20 as your balance showing. So this is one of the ways you use the .get or you use the .ajax to do so. Now, if you want to do a post also, but you want to do it using AJAX, and I'll explain AJAX more after this. You use $, then you bring a period. So we are posting. Posting means we want to send some form of data. So you provide your URL. After providing your URL, you provide your data, and then you provide your callback. And the callback over here is the same as the function over here, what you want to do after this URL has been successful. So you send this URL the same way, assuming you go onto a web page and then they ask you to sign in. So when you sign in and you click submit or login, the login that you click has a URL which is going to post. So this URL is going to, so this, when the moment you click login, it is going to get the URL over here, and then the data over here is going to be your username and then your password which you entered. So this URL is going to get this data which is being posted. So we'll send the data to this URL, and then this URL is going to contain some form of logic to process your data and then do some validations to check if your username and then your password are correct. If they are correct, then we come to the callback. Then the callback is going to say, oh, okay, your username and your password they were correct. So this is the response for you now. You can log in and then you can access the other pages. What AJAX does is that AJAX allows us to perform actions without refreshing the page. So you realize that there are some web pages that anything you click, the whole page will load again. We don't want the whole page to load. We just want certain aspects of the page to be uploaded to be updated. So we use AJAX to do so for background asynchronous manipulations or asynchronous functions. So that's with AJAX. So I'm done with jQuery, and the next thing that we'll be looking at would be leaflets. And that's with our next session. And then next will be taking us for that session. So if there are any questions, we can ask them, answer them, then we close for the day.
I hope we understood what he thought. The way they are all quiet. Okay. Again, they are saying you're a good teacher, so now they don't have any question.
I hope I've not confused them at all.
No, they've understood. Since there are no questions.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Judge. A small information to put across. So God willing, next week we will be having a break, our 1 week break, as I made mention the other time. So this 1 week break is going to help most of our colleagues who are lagging behind to catch up with the class. Then we'll continue right after the week after next week. Yeah, so on our new meeting days will be Mondays and Thursdays. So yeah, Mondays and Thursdays. So we'll start on Monday, next 2 weeks, Monday. So as we are going on break, we'll entreat each and every one of you to try as much as possible to go through all the basics, the fundamentals that we've taught over the past 3 weeks. Because the next phase of the program would be dependent on all the things that we've taught over the past 3 weeks. So try as much as possible to use the next week to go over all the videos, and all the sessions we had were uploaded on our YouTube page, and there is a playlist called mentorship program. When you go to geospatial developers, there is a playlist called mentorship program. All the videos, all the sessions that we've had has been put there. So kindly try as much as possible to do so that when you move to the next phase, you wouldn't be left behind. All right. Thank you very much, colleagues. And as I keep saying, let's keep practicing. If you have any issues, hit us up back doors, and we'll try as much as possible to help you out. All right. Stay blessed and have a nice day and evening. All right. Bye bye.